now I want to discuss with you what is the meaning of Yetziat Mitzrayim. And you know, the Aggada has this thing. It has, and this is what we got up to last week. It says, Maaseh b'Levi Eliezer, b'Levi Akiva, b'Levi Tafon, b'Levi Yoshua, b'Levi Elazar ben Azariah, shayu b'Subim b'Bnei Berah, and they're in, well, there's a machlok. What does Bnei Berak mean? Rabbi Yitzchak Abarbanel says, Bnei Berak means not the name of the city they were in, but they were wearing beautiful, shining clothing of silk. So silk has a certain luster to it. So they were sitting down with these clothing. It was like they were like kings, sitting down and discussing Yetziat Mitzrayim. Some people say Bnei Berak is the name of the city. Whatever. They were in the yeshiva. They were having this, or in somebody's house, more likely come to think of it. And they were having this Haggadah, which went on all night. What's missing from the story? Well, and we know what happened in the story. In the story, they were discussing Yetziat Mitzrayim all night, and then Talmidahem, Achivat Talmidahem, Amru Lahem, Botai, Yigia Zeman, Kiryat Shema, Shema Arvit, right? They say it's the time to pray. You have to stop talking. The sun is rising. It's time to pray. Okay, what's missing from the story? Who knows what's missing in the story?
Dinner.
They would be haram not to eat. They have to have masah, they have to have maror, right? Eventually that comes. Even if you have a long conversation, eventually you get to eat, right? But there's something missing from the story. And what's missing is, it doesn't tell us what they were discussing. It just tells us that they were discussing. But what were they discussing? Wouldn't you be interested in hearing what they were discussing? That'd be an amazing thing. They were there for a few hours, maybe 4, 5, 6 hours. I mean, figure, it's sunrise. So they must have been discussing something. I wish there was like a microphone, a recording, right? Something that tells us, but it doesn't say. And I think that there's actually a message here. And by the way, I just wrote an article and it came out, they were giving it out in the synagogues in this community. You saw those journals on Egypt? Maybe they're giving it out in the Torah also. So there's a booklet that comes out from this London yeshiva, and they got some rabbis from the old days who no longer with us, Aleim Shalom, and then they brought some contemporary rabbis and they put together this journal, so they asked me to contribute an article, and I did. I don't know if there's any copies left. Maybe we'll have Isaac print out a bunch.
He's going to make copies.
And by the way, somebody wrote a review about the book, and in the review about the book, I was featured prominently in that review, so I was very happy about that, Baruch Hashem. It felt good. Meaning my article was featured in that review. Okay, so maybe we'll print that out also. because he kind of summarizes what my article is about. It was kind of it was a nice piece. So what I do in that article is, and this is what everybody has to do, and I think this is the reason they don't bring in that story what they discussed. Because we know that we're discussing Yetziat Mitzrayim, obviously, that's what we're supposed to discuss. But what about Yetziat Mitzrayim? So I think that you have to take the experience of Egypt, which happened thousands of years ago, and bring it to the present, and use that as a filter to understand what's happening around you now. I want to explain that. That story took place during the Roman occupation of Judea. The Romans were there. I'm pretty sure that what they were discussing is, why don't we accept the Roman occupation of Judea? Why are we fighting this war against them? They're here, they took over, why fight the war? And there were many Jews who said, why fight the war? The Romans, they bring civilization, they build bridges, they build bathhouses, right? They bring culture. Why fight this war? Right? That was an opinion. So then you're having a discussion. You're saying, well, if the Romans take over with their bathhouses and with their bridges and with their culture, they're going to bring many immoral ideas and norms that don't comport with the Torah. And we want to be a free people. We don't want somebody on top of us telling us what to do and how to think. And therefore the consensus among the Chachamim was, no, we want to be free, right? We want freedom from dictators. We don't want to be part of imperial Rome. So you see that conversation? I don't know exactly how it took place, but I'm just giving you an example. So let me give you my thoughts. And I've actually been thinking about this, how I can convey this message. And I was looking through an old pictures, and I came across this picture. I think we took it about 10 years ago. We were in Israel in the north, very beautiful. The north of Israel, the Galil, the Golan, that whole area, the Banyas, the Tendal is all like rivers, and it's really very lush and very green. Whereas if you go to the southern part of Israel, it's very desert-like. The northern part of Israel is quite lovely and quite beautiful. So we were there, I think it was, actually it was Chol Hamoed Pesach, come to think of it. Yeah, wow, that's pretty cool. So it was Chol Hamoed Pesach, and we went on a very long hike. It was in the area of the Banyas, actually. And it was, the sun was quite warm. And I remember we got to this hill, and the hill was a very shady hill, and we kind of walked up the path, and it took us up the hill. On top of the hill, there was this beautiful oak tree. Amazing, huge oak tree. And because of the oak tree, the whole hill was shaded. And it just felt very good. And I remember telling my wife, you know what, continue with the kids. I wanted to go to the other side. I just wanted to relax under the shade. It was very beautiful. It was a good feeling. So I was enjoying it. And so I saw this picture, and I began to think about it. And then, you know, when you plant an oak tree, you start out, you know, with an acorn, and you put it in a flower pot. Now, at some point, you need to remove the young plant from the flower pot and then put it in fertile soil. Because obviously, so long as that plant is in the flower pot, it can never grow to its full size because it's constrained by the flower pot, right? It doesn't have the proper nourishment. It needs the right soil. It needs the roots need to be able to extend, right? And you take it out of that flower pot, you put it in the ground, and suddenly it begins to shoot up and eventually becomes this powerful, huge, beautiful, sprawling tree. So that's the oak tree. Now, the Torah refers to Mitzrayim as Kur HaBarzel, an iron cauldron. Literally, it imprisons you, right? And I think that's a great lesson for the Jewish people in Egypt. Because when the Jewish people were in Egypt, and I told you, I think last week, that Mitzrayim is mentioned in the Torah 50 times, because the Chachmei Kabbalah tell us that there's Hamishim Sha'arei Tum'ah. And in Egypt, all of the gates of Tum'ah, all of the impurity in the world was there. There was terrible practices. First of all, we know that this was a people who was willing to kill Jewish babies. I mean, you know, they're depraved individuals. Depraved individuals kill babies, right? No real human being kills babies, right? But it's true, and I know what you're thinking, and I agree with you. Okay? So they were horrible people, right? And these same people, I mean, they used to marry their sisters and all these terrible things, and you know, so these people, they reached Hamishim Sha'arei Tum'ah. The Jewish people were there. And part of Yetziat Mitzrayim is God recognizing that this nation doesn't belong there. This nation is like the oak tree. This nation needs to find a place where it can realize its full potential. Because as long as they are in this Kur HaBarzel, in this place of Tum'ah, in this place of terrible values, in a place of cruelty, you cannot develop. You are never immune to the society around you. We are all affected by the values, by the commercials we see, even if we don't have TV, you see billboards, by the things you hear, by the ideas that are out there. It affects us, and it constrains us. And you can never become that great oak tree, Am Yisrael, a powerful nation, the nation of God. When I say power, I don't mean military strength, because we don't care about military strength. We care about wisdom. We care about spiritual power. We care about intellectual, right? We care about being good people. That nation can never develop in Mitzrayim. And that's why God took us out of Mitzrayim. Lakachat lohoi mikerev goy. The Parashat Vayetchanan says God took one nation out of another nation. Because God realized this one nation, this Jewish people, is like that young oak tree. They're not like the Egyptians. The Egyptians are the Egyptians. They have their values. You can put them wherever you want to put them in the world. They will have the same terrible values. They're not good people. They were not good people. And let's say it, there are people in the world who are bad. I know it doesn't sound right. You're not, everybody is, no, not everybody is good. There's bad people. And the Egyptians were bad people. The Germans were terrible people. They were. So, getting back to Yetziat Mitzrayim, I think the reason that God took us out of Egypt was so that we can become free. Not just free physically, but free. You know, we can realize our potential. And I think the reason that story doesn't tell us what they were discussing is, discuss your own things. You think for yourself about what's happening around you today, here, in the year 2022, in the United States of America. Are you free? Or are you like this tree in the flower pot, and there's certain things constraining you, and there's certain things affecting you? I saw this terrible video. Gosh, wow. It was in a synagogue just recently in the community, Bet Yaakov. They were talking about how what's happening in the goy world is a huge amount of gender dysphoria, because the people who run the country, right? The people who run the country, they're inculcating in young children this sickness, right? They're causing it. And the amount of gender dysphoria nowadays, the percentage as a statistical matter, is far, far, far greater than it ever was. And it's clear, they're brainwashing children intentionally. I mean, you know, when you have a company like Disney World that doesn't want to say ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because you might be offending people. And so I ask the question, who exactly is offended by that? Well, who? I mean, I think to find that offensive, you have to be severely ill. So does our society now cater to the severely ill? So you see how we're surrounded by this flower pot? Right? We're surrounded, we're constrained, it's a kura barzel. Why the heck do I even have to think about that? I know when I speak to somebody, I may offend them, I may have used the wrong pronoun, you know. What is your, you know, I have LinkedIn pages, you know, here's my pronouns. What the heck do I care what your pronouns are? Yeah, how does that interest me? What do I care what you think about in your mind, and how you know, the things that you like? Okay, I'm in a synagogue. Why do I care what you like? I mean, how does that in any way, is it my business? I'm not telling you, you know, just keep it to yourself. You have a particular weirdness. Okay, so you're weird. Okay, I'm not going to be against you. I just want to hear about it. You know what I'm saying? Every civilization